All right, we're back. We are COMP123, and it's Programming 2 here at Centennial in the summer 2017 semester. And this is week 10, part 3 of our broadcast. That's what we're doing right now. So when we went away, we talked about this anti-hero class, a subclass. Here's the class diagram, anti-hero and supervillain and superhero. We also did a little quiz for about 15 minutes. Some of you did very well. Most of you did very well in the 80s, which is good. And now we're going to continue with what we're doing here. So I talked about this idea of what if I made this scenario where I have two interfaces and they use the same method, and what happens? Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, let's suppose I have a method called trains, right? So both superhero, or all of them, superhero, anti-hero, supervillain, they can all train themselves, right? They can do some kind of weird training. But let's say, maybe it's different. Maybe the superhero, the way he trains is he tries not to hurt people in a danger room, right? Something like that, right? And the supervillain, the way he trains is he just tries to rob more and more people, right? And then let's suppose the anti-hero, the way he does it is he does a lot of training when it comes to investigation and that kind of stuff, and how he can get away with doing some of his crimes to help the world. I don't know. But there's different ways of training all these three different classes of objects a little differently, right? Because remember, when we make a method, it's a behavior that we're looking at. So different behaviors for different classes, the same name, polymorphism, right? But now they have the same, let's suppose they have the same method, trains. Let's do that. So I'm going to go into my iHasKarma, and inside the iHasKarma interface, I'm going to put a new public method, right, called trains. Returns void. Okay, I'm defining the method. That's all I need to do. In the interface, I'm just defining the signature for the properties and the methods. Okay, that's good. So trains. And I want to do the same thing. Notice how I got fatter all of a sudden. Visually, it got bigger, right? This interface, right? And let's do the same thing for iHasMalice. And I got to add some stuff in here. So let's put in some private, no, actually public properties. That'll be okay. Public properties. My iHasMalice interface doesn't include a header, which is bad, but I did that because I was trying to get your solution to your lab. And then private, oops. Private, see, I'm losing it. Public, not public, public methods. And let's do the same method, void, right? And the method name is going to be trains. Same method, two interfaces. Okay, doesn't hurt the hero and it doesn't hurt the villain, but it does bother the anti-hero. Why? Well, because in my superhero, here's superhero, it's going to have a problem, right? Here's my problem. iHasKarma, we haven't implemented all the methods. Let's implement the other method that I'm missing. I can go in there and implement the interface that I want, whatever's missing. And I notice that my trains method is not implemented, and I can put in there a little command line, write line that says, method not implemented. Right, so I can say that, so it's not implemented. And let's just take this entire method here, the way it is, copy it, and I'm going to go into my supervillain, right, just to put that in. Here's my supervillain, and it's not complying to iHasMalice anymore because iHasMalice also has that method that I got to put in. I'm just going to put it in. All right, so there it is. Now, both those methods are the same. What happens with anti-hero? Uh-oh. I have iHasKarma and iHasMalice. They both need the same method. Can I just put in one to take care of both? And let's try that out. So I'm going to go here and put it in, and yeah, right? But wait a minute. Hold on a second. Which one do I mean? Do I mean the one for Malice or the one for the hero? Which one, right? So here's a way you can handle it, right? So this is public, but what if I wanted to specifically say, I want to make the method for the iHasKarma interface. Can I do that? Right? And the answer is, yeah, I can, but I got a bit of an error. And what C# prevents us from doing is making this one public. So I can do this, but it's private. And I can do the other one, like this, right? Instead of I has karma, I can say I has malice. And now that's okay. But what's the problem here, guys and girls? Right? Remember we talked about trying to implement an idea in our head. I want to have an idea, right? And I want to make it so that it works in code. And it kind of works here, but it's private. And I want to make this method public. So can I do that too? Can I kind of just, kind of go in here and slap that in there too, like this? And let's take this away and put in public. And yeah, I can do that too. So which one? See, that's why we talk multiple inheritance is really weird, right? This is kind of the same idea. I have two different interfaces implementing the same method, and I has malice and I has karma. These would be inside. I could probably do something with these inside of the class, right? That do something. But the public face of my method can't be one of these two. It has to be this one, right? Because this one kind of takes care of the other requirements anyway. And these two can take care of specific things for both malice and karma. But hold on a second. My question to you, my friends, is should we? Remember we talked about this. Just because we can doesn't mean we should, right? Just because you have a weapon in your house doesn't mean you should kill your neighbor, right? Because you can do it, right? We can do a lot of things. We can drive our car into a ditch or jump off a bridge. Doesn't mean we should. And this is what we're doing here. We're jumping off a bridge, right? Now, what happens when you don't have a choice, right? I don't have a choice here, right? Because maybe somebody else wrote these two interfaces and I must use them, right? Like somebody else. It wasn't me. I have to use these two things, right? So this isn't a great solution, right? For us, if I ever ask you to do something, I would probably just ask you to do this. And that's enough, right? Because this one method takes care of both. Still problematic. So what's the real solution? If I was going to really write this, what would be another option? Remember we talked about the component-based model. So what would be even better than this, right? Anybody? To create another interface, right? Like, you know what? iTrainable. What's wrong with that? iTrainable has its own method, right? And you can attach it to any one of the classes or all of them, right? If you want. And they're going to have one method. It just has the train method inside of it, right? And you don't put the train method inside if you have control. We do here, but you may not in the real world. But if you have control over what goes in here, right? Don't make these. Make a third one, a third interface that has one method. So let's do that. That's the right way to do it. And now in the morning class or the earlier class, I kind of showed that, yes, you could probably do in your anti-hero one. And I said that's really a bad implementation. And I even talked about this thing. Here, what we're going to do is we're not going to use one and these two interfaces. I don't want these interfaces to be touched. That's why you notice I didn't put any comments in the interfaces. I was going to modify them because I knew that I wasn't going to. So the better thing to do is make another interface, right? And this is it gets really weird when you have three, by the way. If you have three that use the same method, what do you do then? That's possible too. And I'm going to call this iTrainable. It's kind of a weird thing. Maybe it's going to be spelled like this, trainable, because trainable is not really a word, right? But let's leave that alone. iTrainable, right? And here's my interface. In my iTrainable interface, I will do some stuff in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to iHasKarma and grab some of this stuff because I know that this is what I need to do, right? Copy it. And I'm going to go to my iHasTrainable or iTrainable interface, right? Put it in there. And then this is July 20th today. And this interface is that defines not a karma property, right? But actually a a train method, right? That must be implemented. Right? And then we want to create the iTrainable interface, right? Here's iTrainable. And inside of here, all I need is the method, right? Oops. So that one is the method. So I'm just going to put public methods. Maybe there's going to be other things in there too, but I just need the train method, right? Notice that I need the void, what it returns, and train, and that's it. I don't need public because it's public by default. Yay! That's nice implementation, right? Let's fix the other ones before I put it up on GitHub. So I has malice. I get rid of trains because I don't need that. That doesn't make sense, right? Although I do want to put in some kind of a header for this. I didn't put it in there last time, so kind of put a header in there with this one because I didn't have a. If you don't have it, I mean, and it's not the caram, it's the malice property, right? And that's not I has karma, but I has malice. So I didn't even put these things properly. Malice, just because we modified them. All right, and then just let's get the I has karma and fix that because I don't want the karma to have a train method either, right? This is the right thing to do. Okay, cool. And now in my anti-hero, right, I would have iTrainable, right? And that would take care of my requirements, right? Because my iTrainable has, oh, did I put trains or train? Where's my iTrainable? Trains, right? The hero trains. Trains method. We're not talking trains as in like airplanes and trains. All right, I'm talking like train, like to train somebody. I don't know. Which takes care of this. So there's three interfaces here that it takes care of. And if I want to add that interface to the other two, I could. I can go to supervillain, and now because we already have the interface and put it in there. So iTrainable, right? Because these are like components, right? That's what I was trying to say to you, right? And the same thing goes with Superhero, right? Superhero would also implement the iTrainable interface, right? Because that conforms now. I don't have to, but I mean, I'm putting it in there. All right, so point 4 for this one, implemented the iTrainable interface. That's what I'm going to put in there for the other ones too, right? Because that's what it's going to be for both that one and supervillain, right? So 0.2. And same thing with the anti-hero. That's one thing I did make a change to. 0.2. Okay, you can see that that's done. And there's iTrainable. All right, so I'm just going to put it up on GitHub now. Now that I made a bunch of changes altogether. Would I do it this way? Typically, no. But I'm just going to put it in as I created the iTrainable interface. Right. So I'm gonna, I can make an intelligent little commit too. Like you don't have to make a commit for every time. But you see, I've modified all this stuff here. Right. So I'm going to say something like created iTrainable interface. And I could say something created and implemented. Right, so I know that it's been implemented somehow. Okay, let's save everything here. And I'm going to go home and sync and push. Let's take a look at the diagram now after this is done pushing, because there's a couple of things that are slightly different now than before, right? So let's take a look at the diagram. Notice that it's changed, right? The diagram has 3 interfaces here, 2 interfaces there, 2 interfaces there to make up the more complex objects. And I have 3 interfaces up here. I have an I has malice, iTrainable, and I has karma. Even though these two are, all of them have iTrainable, right? What can I do differently than this to make it even better? Come on. you lovely people. What would you do differently than this, right? I'm refactoring, right? I'm refactoring. If I have something that's the same in every case, I'm copying my code over and over again, right? So why is this bad? How can I make this better? Any suggestions? Come on, you coders out there, right? What can I do? Look, I have itrainable, itrainable, itrainable. That means I've defined the same method over and over again. What should I do? Move it, what? Move it up to the superhuman class, right? If I have to do it in each one of them, right? I might as well move that whole thing up. Okay? So watch this now. Okay? So how do I do that? Well, this one then has to implement, superhuman should implement itrainable. That's what it means. So double click. I'm going to go here and then add it in, itrainable. Right? Now, this is the key to this, because this itrainable interface is different from one of the other ones, right? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for me to make the exact same public method down here, right? So if I go public void, right, and then the trains method, right, what do I really want to do here? It satisfies my requirements, but what I want to do here is I want to make this virtual, right? Why? So I can override it, right? That's what I want to do. This polymorphism again. I want to override it in my subclasses, right? So in here, I could say something like, you know, to be implemented in subclass, right? Okay, that's cool. I could do this. Hold on. Let's hear me out here. Hear me out, right? Let's go even further than this. Do I have to implement it in this state? What do you think? Well, let's check it. So let's say, for example, right? Let's say I'm going to go back to my superhero and get rid of the itrainable interface requirements here, because why would I put it there if I have it on my superhuman class, right? And I'm going to get rid of it in my supervillain. Again, we're just refactoring, right? Refactoring. Okay, cool. That's good. And so supervillain, superhero, antihero. Where's antihero? There it is. Antihero. I don't have to put it there anymore, right? Okay, question. It says trains. It's got a little underscore there, and it says hides inherited member. It's inherited, right? What I really want to do here is override, right? I want to do this, right? Override. I want to override this member over every single time, right? But you see that I don't have to adhere to it. Now, if I put this out, if I take this out, what if I don't? So what if I don't want to do this? Can I avoid doing this at all? Can I just like not include this thing if I don't want to? And the answer is yeah, I can. And now going back to what you guys said, which was, I don't know who said it, right? We got to move this up again, because it doesn't make any sense to be at the superhuman level. If I'm going to do this, where it says to be implemented by the base class or the derived class, man, that screams of abstract, right? That screams of abstract, which means I'm going to inherit it. I'm going to put it inside the abstract class. All right. Let's go one step further. So let's just take this off for now. And I wanted you to see the errors. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comment this out, just so we can see the errors in our code until the errors are gone. So I'm going to take that out of here and out of here. Right? And I want you just to see the effects. All right, because I think that's important for us to see. So anti-hero, and let's look at supervillain. We did the supervillain. Or superhero. Let's put them together. So there's anti-hero and there's superhero. Let's put those together, and let's go to the bottom and let's just comment out that one. I don't know why it's there. It should be somewhere else, because this should not be here. This should be here, right? Okay, cool. So I've commented them all out, and I went into the superhero class, superhuman class. Here it is, and I said to be implemented. Man, wah, right? That's not cool. Curious though, if I was to take this out, because I implement the iTrainable interface here, and if I was to take this out and put it inside my human class, because humans can be trained too, yeah? So that makes sense. I can train a human, I can train a superhuman, I can train a superhero, I can train anyone, right? Then trainable may want to be put somewhere else. And if that's true, let's just comment this out again, just to show you what the effects are going to be downstream, right? So comment this out at the bottom. Okay, cool. We took out the trainable interface up here, and I want to put it into my my human, right? So I'm going to go back to class diagram, double click on human. It's an abstract class, yeah? But I want to do iTrainable. Can I do that in an abstract class? So comma, and then iTrainable. Can I do that? Can I implement I'm just putting it out there. I'm trying it with you guys, right? Can I do this in an abstract class? No, because an abstract class cannot implement an interface because it's abstract already, right? Wait a minute. It's blowing my mind. It's abstract already, right? Which means I don't need this interface. If it's going to be something that I want to abstract every single time, then I don't need an interface here. I need it as an abstract method, and that's where it belongs at the human level as an abstract method, no interface, right? Because it makes more sense, right? This is where we're calling it. We're thinking about this, and again, if you were thinking about this at the planning level, right, you wouldn't have done all these mistakes. This is all rework we're talking about, right? So down here, I have an abstract display skills. Well, guess what? I'm going to put another public abstract method, right, called trains. Maybe, right? We have display the skills, and maybe what we can do is, we train skills, or we train the superhero. Okay, cool. So now that we have this there, right, it's abstract. I must implement it, right? But the great thing is, if I go back to my my diagram, right? So I'm going to go back to my diagram for a second. Do I have it here? Class diagram. There we go. I don't need this bloody thing anymore, right? I've got it here at the human level, right? Here's trains. It's an abstract method, trains, right? And I must have it in superhuman, in superhero, in antihero, and in supervillain. I must have it implemented somehow, right? Okay, cool. Let's get rid of iTrainable. So right now we'll leave it in place, but let's take a look at the effects of superhuman. So I'm going to go back to superhuman. I got an issue. It says superhuman does not implement inherited abstract member human trains. Well, we do have it in. It's down here, right? It's down at the bottom. That's where I left it. Now, what do I do? Can I leave it as public virtual? Can I do this? Or do I need to put override over here? Like this. Yeah, I took away that little underline. That's the answer, override. Okay, cool. I overrode this one, right, at this level, and it's here. But I want to force the other one to be overloaded or overridden downstream. Can I do that? I can't go virtual override. Both things won't work. So we're back to what we had before, right? Which is, if I go to my superhero, right, I'm good. I don't need to do it if I don't want to. You see? I don't need it if I don't want to or not. I can put it in. And when I do so, because I made it an option, see how this says train, what about, can I override it here? And I can, right? As long as it's abstract, because it's also the super class, so it's the parent of my superclass, I can also override it. And this is what I want to do. I want to override it here. I want to override it here. And I want to override it in the other place. Now, why would I want to do this? Right? Why would I want to do all this stuff that I've done? Right? Because, my friends, what happens is the class is still small. I'm not making the class fatter by doing this at all, right? I'm not making the class fatter because that member already exists. I'm just overriding it, right? So it's the same size. I can still implement my details across each of the methods. But one thing is, where it says implemented the iTrainable interface, right now I'm going to say refactored. I'm going to say refactored, because that's what I did. And I removed the iTrainable interface. And sometimes we need to do this because it makes sense to do it, right? Guys and girls, though, right? With proper planning, you never have to do this stuff, right? The more refactoring you do in the real world, where I do the real, if I'm really working and I have to refactor, and rewrite stuff, right? That's a good example of bad planning, right? Because if I have to refactor all these things to say the same thing, because that's what I'm doing, and my trainable interface, what I want to do is get rid of it now because I don't need it in my code, right? Here's my iTrainable interface. Bye-bye. By the way, it's up on GitHub, worst case scenario, so you can always go back and hop back to see it, right? So I'm going to get rid of iTrainable, right? And now, if I look at my code, and if I do my, if I go to Team Explorer, when I go home, and I look at changes, whoa, look, iTrainable is scratched out, see? And I modified everything else. And that's what I'm putting in. I'm going to put in a, you got 2 minutes, man. I got my interface with this, right? So this is what I'm going to say refactored this thing right here, right? Refactored, remove the iTrainable interface. Make sense? I'm going to commit all. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to sync and push. And that'll do everything you need. That's it for me today. I wanted to go through that example with you because I want you to get an understanding of thinking as well. Remember, what you want to do to make it perfect, to translate the stuff from, abstract thoughts in the real world to a concrete example in code, you have to name things properly, and you have to think about where does that method belong? Where does it belong the right way? Because every other object that I want, my superhuman object has a trains method, right? It has a trains method because all superhumans, humans, everyone should have that. And that's a great example of inheritance. All right. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Remember, when we see each other on Tuesday, we're going to start collections, right? And then I'm planning for Thursday to be a user interface. We're going to start user interface, okay? Thanks so much. See you next week. Work on your assignment 4.